Good afternoon, dear students. This is your Sudha ma'am. Welcome to the third session of lesson 8, that is heredity from parent to progeny. In our previous session, we have studied about parent to progeny, sex determination, evolution, and Lamarckism. And in today's session, we are going to study about Darwinism, evidences of evolution, and human being a moving museum. And enter into our topic, Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. Darwin spent many years thinking about the work of Lamarck, Charles Lyell, and Malthus, what he had seen on his voyage, and artificial selection. What did all this mean? How did it all fit together? It fits together in Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. It's easy to see how all of these influences helped shape Darwin's ideas. The basic idea of biological evolution is that populations and species of organisms change over time. Today, when we think of evolution, we are likely to link this idea with one specific person, that is, British naturalist Charles Darwin. In the 1850s, Darwin wrote an influential and controversial book called On the Origin of Species. In it, he proposed that species evolve and that all living things can trace their descent to a common ancestor. That means we are all belonged to a common ancestor, though geographical changes because of the place where we are living, because of habitat, some changes may take place, and these changes further accumulated and we evolved like new species, but actually we are all belong to a common ancestor. Darwin also suggested a mechanism for evolution, that is natural selection, in which heritable traits that help organisms survive and reproduce become more common in a population over time. So, the changes which can be passed on to the next generation are heritable changes, and these help a person or an organism survive and reproduce, becoming more common in the population over time. Natural selection causes populations to become adapted or increasingly well suited to the environment over time. Natural selection depends on the environment and requires existing heritable variation in a group. Darwin and the voyage of the Beagle. Charles Darwin was born in England. He voyaged for 5 years just when he was 22 years old in the World Survey ship HMS Beagle. He visited a number of places including Galapagos Islands. He keenly observed the flora and fauna of these places. Darwin found that nearby islands in the Galapagos had similar but non-identical species of finches living on them. So, he observed the finch birds and he noticed the change in their beaks. Moreover, he noticed that even finch species was well suited for its environment and role. For instance, species that ate large seeds tended to have large tough beaks, while those that ate insects had thin sharp beaks. Finally, he observed that the finches and the other animals found on the Galapagos Islands were similar to species on the nearby mainland of Ecuador but different from those found elsewhere in the world. Variations which are useful to an individual are retained, while those which are not useful are lost. So, according to Darwin, the variations which are useful are retained and which are not useful slowly they may lost. In a population, when there is a struggle for existence, the fittest will be survived. Nature favors only useful variations. Each species tend to produce large number of offsprings. They compete with each other for food, space, mating and other needs. In this struggle for existence, only the fittest can survive. This is called survival of the fittest. Over a long period of time, this leads to the formation of new species. And coming to the evidences of evolution, the first one is homologous and analogous organs. What do you mean by homologous organs? If two or more species share a unique physical feature, such as a complex bone structure or a body plan, they may have all inherited this feature from a common ancestor. Physical features shared due to evolutionary history from a common ancestor are said to be homologous organs. For example, the forelimbs of whales, humans, birds, and dogs look pretty different on the outside. That is why, because they are adapted to function in different environments, like whale for swimming, man for holding, and birds for flying, like that, moles for digging, like that. However, if we look at the bone structure of these forelimbs, we will find the pattern of bones are very similar across all these species. It's unlikely that such similar structures would have evolved independently in each species, and more like that the basic layout of these bones was already present in a common ancestor of whales, humans, dogs, birds, etc. And this type of evolution is called divergent evolution. And moving on to the analogous organs, to make things a little more interesting and complicated, not all physical features that look alike are marks of common ancestry. Instead, some physical similarities are analogous. They evolved independently in different organisms because the organisms lived in similar environments or experienced similar selective pressures. This process is called convergent evolution. Example, wings of birds and wings of bats. The wings of bats have skin folds, that is patagonium, stretched between elongated fingers, but the wings of birds have a feathery covering all along the arm. The designs of the two wings, their structure and components are different. They look similar because they have a common use of flying. And moving on to the evidences from embryology. Embryology is the study of the development of organism from egg to adult stage. There are remarkable similarities in the embryos of different animals from fish to man. The resemblances is so close that at an early stage, even an experienced embryologist would find difficult to distinguish one embryo from the other embryo. It indicates that life history of every individual exhibits the structural features of their ancestors. This strengthens the view of the existence of a common ancestor from which all these have evolved. And evidences from fossils. Fossils are evidences of ancient life forms. They can be actual remains of once lived, such as bones or seeds, or even the traces of past event such as dinosaur footprints or ripple marks on the prehistoric shore. Usually, when organisms die, their bodies will be decomposed and lost. Sometimes, the body or some parts of the body do not decompose completely. For example, if a dead insect get caught in mud, it will not decompose quickly and the mud will eventually harden and retain the impression of the body parts of the insect. All such preserved traces of living organisms are called fossils. Geologists can estimate the age of a fossil. The study of fossil is called paleontology. Paleontologists determine the age of fossils by using carbon dating method. A rare and magnificent fossil of a dinosaur, Chaetosaurus, belonged to the lower Jurassic age, going back about 160 million years, were collected from Emanapalli in Adilabad district of Andhra Pradesh. Now it is in Telangana, but previously Adilabad belongs to Andhra Pradesh before division. This fossil has 14 meters length and 5 meters height. This fossil is preserved at B.M. Birla Science Center in Hyderabad. And coming to the Archaeopteryx, the organisms which bear the characters of two different groups are called connecting links, and Archaeopteryx has some avian characters and some reptilian characters. Hence, it is recognized a connecting link between aves and reptiles. So, Archaeopteryx, we call it as a bird, but it has avian features, that means some bird features and some reptilian features also. What are the reptilian features? Having a complete set of teeth and having a tail or reptilian features, whereas the avian features are looks like a bird and it has wings and it has flat sternum. Sternum means from the backbone the ribs come and attach to a bone on our chest. What we call that bone? The breastbone is called sternum, and it has a flat sternum, which is a avian feature. Hence, these Archaeopteryx is considered to be a connecting link between reptiles and birds. And moving on to the last topic of the lesson, that is human being a moving museum. During the course of evolution, some organs remain in the organisms. The organs which are underdeveloped and unused in present day organisms are called vestigial organs, like hair on pinna, hair on skin, mammary glands in males, appendix, wisdom teeth, etc. There are nearly 180 vestigial organs in human beings. Hence, human beings are said to be moving museum of vestigial organs. Sometimes vestigial organs abruptly appear even in human beings. This phenomenon is called atavism. Example, baby with a tail. That's all about the moving museum human beings. And let's summarize today's topics. Today we have learnt about Darwinism, evidences of evolution, and human being a moving museum. That's all for today. Meet you in the next session. Thank you.